Dead by Daylight sucks right now. There's absolutely no sugarcoating it. This game is in the worst state it has been in years. And honestly, there is nobody to blame but Behavior themselves. To really understand how we got to this point, we need to rewind a bit. Let's forget about everything else in the past and focus on when Five Nights at Freddy's was coming into Dead by Daylight. Everything prior to this was pretty much irrelevant in my opinion, because I knew, and I think the devs knew, and so did you guys, that FNAF was going to be one of the biggest things that Dead by Daylight would have in their game, period. And they needed to do everything perfect, as it could be one of their last chances to really get that much eyes on the game. And sure enough, they did indeed get really close to breaking the records when FNAF was officially introduced into the game. So, the one driving point that I had told them specifically, personally, and made videos on is that they have to capitalize on getting all these new players by giving them such an amazing experience that they will stick around and continue to play the game. Ideas that I had was revamping the tutorial or making things easier to understand when it comes to identifying killers, their powers, their perks, making more things that are organized so that way when new players come into the game, they're not hit with 40 different killers in the game with over 500 perks to learn. They can simply pick it up, enjoy it for what it is, and slowly get better. But alas, we didn't see any of those things. We just got FNAF and that was kind of it. And to be fair, looking back at it, and this isn't me just saying it, I've said it before, the FNAF chapter was kind of lackluster, and I did honestly expect a little bit more. We didn't necessarily get a survivor, we did get a map which was nice, but they wanted to focus all their attention on Springtrap, which fair enough. Overall, the power for the OG players seemed a little bit similar to some of the other characters, and people had some crazy theories on what the powers are going to be, but we're not here to talk about the FNAF chapter. The fact of the matter is, I personally feel they dropped the ball with captivating that new audience into the game. So after FNAF came and went, the next big thing was on the horizon, the anniversary event. And I remember sitting there thinking, when they announced this, wait, isn't this the same exact event that we got last year? And now they're going to retire it as well? So what have they been doing all year when it comes down to the event itself? Because we're pretty much getting the same exact thing with one distinction that honestly made the game a lot more unbalanced for the event. Nonetheless, regardless of how I felt about it, people still came, they still played, because at the end of the day, getting the event item was essentially getting free Bloody Party Streamer. So of course, tons of people flocked to play the game, and they broke their Steam record, which was huge for the game. They had great PR, everybody was happy, everybody was in good spirits, coming off a big Springtrap and FNAF chapter, everything felt good, and The Walking Dead was right on the horizon, so you would think that this would catapult them even more into going in the right direction. And everything pretty much set up for that. Surely some more good stuff was coming, right? Then came the big PTB. Right off the bat, you couldn't even play one of the two new characters, Michonne, because she was completely disabled. One thing that made the PTB even more of a disaster was the changes that came with this mid-chapter patch. The night changes actually made him worse. They weren't helpful, they were actually hindering. The clown changes, sure, he got stronger in one way, but it was super specific. This came at the cost of gameplay diversity, he became boring and honestly unhealthy for the game. And the real problem here isn't just the changes that they decided to make. This is something that keeps happening. Here is the cycle that Dead by Daylight keeps doing over and over and over. They spend months upon months working on this update that either nobody asked for or were just something that is meant to be avoided. They bring it into the PTB. People say this really sucks. Why did you do this? They get a ton of backlash for it. And then when it drops onto live, they revert some changes and keep just some tweaks here and there. So that major change that we were supposed to get for that character, it's not even here. And this isn't the first time that this has happened. Think about what happened with the twins. Twins were someone that were long anticipated to get their major rework. It was hyped up. We waited for such a long time. We got the changes and they were all terrible. And these are things that they could have avoided if they spoke to someone like Lynxie, the #1 Twins main in the world, who literally predicted they were probably going to make changes like this and it would just be bad. bad. And guess what? That is exactly what they did. So they had to scramble. They had to make changes again that nobody really wanted or could have just been in a hot fix really quickly. And all those 3 months of them working towards this erased. Now the twins are on the back burner. They move to their next killer. And we've seen this happen time and time again. Legion, Skull Merchant. The list goes on, and now we're adding to that list with Clown and Knight, and it just really sucks. And this just keeps happening over and over, and the cycle keeps going to the point where it piles up so much that everything is just a buggy mess. No killers actually fully get updated, and all of the players are just yearning for some good change and something for their killer. Not to mention the crazy amount of bugs that came in with this patch. I mean, there is just too much to name, and I kind of chalk this up to the engine update being a thing and the engine being the main reason why these things are being super buggy, and it just gotten to the point now where DBD is almost unplayable. Now let's talk about The Walking Dead itself. The Walking Dead officially comes into the game. The engine update, the mid-chapter patch, all those killer changes got reverted, but hey, let's enjoy the chapter. Let's play as Michonne. Well, the first thing that you may notice is her ridiculous coughing noises. And again, for a game that's been out for such a long time, almost a decade now, these are just mistakes that they shouldn't be making. We've been here, we've done that, we've done these mistakes before. It just shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? And if you think it's fine, test it out with your consultants, test it out with your content creators in the creator program, outsource other folks to do it, QA test more. And if you think they QA tested whatsoever, you know they didn't, because one time, just one time loading into the match, they would have seen the big ass poll that was on the loading screen. So you know they didn't see this whatsoever. And if they did, if they knew that the poll was there, at the very minimum, please just tell the community, hey, these are known issues. We kind of have to get this patch out because it is tied to a license, but here are all the known issues that we're working on, and we're gonna fix them ASAP. The game is pretty buggy right now. We're working really hard. If you have any other bugs that are not on the known list, please let us know. That little bit of transparency would have gone such a far way. But even that, having such a buggy update is unacceptable at this point in time for a game that has been out for so long. I just don't think the devs are on the same page with anything that goes on behind the scenes, and it pains me to say that because the devs are great people, incredible people. I love them all, but some of these decisions, some of these patches, the changes that are making just don't make sense. All of these bugs being here doesn't make sense, and just having a little bit of transparency as well of being like, listen, maybe it really was just the engine update would go such a far way. Dead by Daylight and Behavior, they're not a small indie company anymore. They have grown into something that is massive, and they need to put themselves at that standard. It is something that is just unacceptable at this point in time. And the fiasco doesn't even stop there. Like, we had the entire thing with the map or a tile, which I don't even know what it is. And for context, if you play as the new characters, or supposedly it just comes now in Garden of Joy, there is a new tile that features The Walking Dead's iconic door. Now, at first, they were saying that this was a brand new map. When we loaded in on the PTB, we realized that this map kind of sucks. Like, this isn't really a map, it's just the tile, and everything else is just whatever, right? It's slop. And I chalked it up to them just testing the tile. And then they were like, yeah, you know what? This is a tile, but the tile only comes if you play these certain characters. At least that was the message that people were talking about. So then, you know, there was some pushback. Why do you have to buy a character in order to see a tile? And then it's only a chance. And then they're like, no, the tile will just spawn as long as Garden of Joy is there, or Withered Isle, I should say. And then we're like, okay, that's fine. But then they put out a tweet saying that it's a map, and then on the developer stream, they said it was a map as well. So I don't know if there's just miscommunication that's going on behind the scenes and people are just not on the same page, Or they did damage control and they didn't want it to be a paid feature, so they just called it whatever. Maybe it was a map and they realized that this is just absolute garbage and we can't push it out as a map. Or maybe it was something that was a paid feature and they realized, hey, we can't really do that because there's too much pushback on it, so let's change the course of it. Ultimately, I don't know what it is, and I still don't know if it's a map or a tile. I really don't. And that's just been a whole fiasco in itself. Look, Dead by Daylight has delayed so many things in order to give us more quality of life updates. That was their promise. They will give us more quality of life things, and I think we need quality of life for the quality of life. Even with things being delayed, it's still a crunch time. Like, Dead by Daylight moves fast. I get it. They put out so much content compared to pretty much any game out there with their mid-chapter patches, especially mid-chapter patches that feature such big licenses or extra characters, so they're still on the clock with all of these things. I get it, but the fact of the matter is we're getting way too much bugs and way too many things that I think they can even handle or know how to handle, or it's becoming an issue every single patch. Every patch that comes out, 10 things break for one good change that they make, and that just loops and loops and loops to the point where we're at now. And as I said at the beginning of the video, with FNAF coming out, that might have been their last chance ever to put an exclamation mark on Dead by Daylight the game. And they haven't done that. They have dropped the ball. And today, and the main reason why I'm making this video, is the kill switch. So one of the bugs, or exploits I should say, that has been in the game that is game breaking has been Streetwise. And you can pretty much use the perk, get a med kit or get a toolbox or even a flashlight, and pretty much have infinite charges on that item. Sounds pretty game breaking, right? Sounds like something that would be kill switched, right? Well, no, not according to the devs. The devs think this is fine. They think this doesn't need to be kill switch whatsoever, and the kill switch should only be used in a nuclear option, and Streetwise isn't considered to be game breaking. Having infinite charges on an item isn't game breaking enough? What? Now look, I want to say this as well. In no way, shape, or form should you send or harass or give hate to the dev that is saying these things. They are just 100% doing their job and passing along the message, right? So please do not do that. Don't call for anyone's jobs. Don't do anything disgusting behavior. They're just passing along the message here. But the point here is that the message is ridiculous. To say that something like this isn't game breaking and saying that it doesn't meet the criteria to be kill switched, I don't get it. Now, Scott and others have made videos showing the hypocrisy of them saying this, because for things that are less or even similar to this, they have kill switched. And they tripled down on this, and they kept on going and kept on saying that, you know, it's not used a lot. There's a lot of things that you need to do in order to do this exploit, which isn't true, by the way, whatsoever. And the fact that they're giving the courtesy to players to not do it and the integrity to the players to be like, hey, yeah, we won't exploit. It makes no sense to me. Of course people are going to exploit, and of course the stats are going to be low because not a lot of people know about it now. But of course they're going to know about it now because you replied to it, you acknowledged it, and you said, it's fine. We're not going to kill switch it. So pretty much now, I can't blame either side. I really can't. If Dead by Daylight is literally giving you pretty much a green light to say, hey, like, you know, we're not going to kill switch this, people are going to exploit it. Of course they are. Everyone's going to do it. And it's incredibly frustrating to go against. And both sides are not in the wrong. It's behavior that falls at fault here. They should have simply kill switched Streetwise. It's that simple. They claim that the kill switch is just the nuclear option, something that they want to use for example, if you load into a map and your game crashes. Okay, cool. But what about the trickster bug? What about when people were getting so many flashing screens and potentially even seizures, which was crazy and should have been kill switched immediately? Instead, they tried to recreate the bug. They couldn't recreate the bug, so they pretty much said, hey, we can't recreate it, so I guess it's not an issue. It doesn't make sense. They should be on the opposite side. This shouldn't be the nuclear option. The kill switch should be something that you should be trigger happy with. As soon as there's a good amount of reports for a bug, use it. If And here's the other point. If this is going to be fixed tomorrow, let's say that this is something that is 100% going to be fixed in tomorrow's hot patch, why even acknowledge it and give yourself such bad PR saying that this doesn't reach the kill switch criteria? This isn't game breaking. You're just opening up the dev team to more harassment and more hate. Why even do something like that? It doesn't make sense to me. And this same exact person that is passing along the message even mentioned that the kill switch shouldn't even be like public and we shouldn't even know when things are kill switched, which is mind blowing to me. Like, I don't understand it. There's like no excuse. There's nothing. Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. I've sat and looked at this for quite a while, and I've been here over on Twitch because I'm still in my Bitathon just chatting about this, and it makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. The truth of the matter is Dead by Daylight / Behavior, they're just not on the same page. And we have seen this time and time again. They've proven it with the kill switch stuff because previously for bugs that were less or even similar, they easily kill switched, and now they're saying it doesn't reach the criteria. So what is that criteria? The truth is, I think nobody at Behavior knows. So it just goes to whoever calls the shots. When it comes down to whether it's a map or a tile, they didn't even know themselves. When it comes down to my post a few years ago talking about Prestige 100 rewards, and they replied into my Twitter saying, hey, we don't want FOMO, so we're not doing P100 rewards, to them pushing cosmetics if you buy Oryx cells during a limited amount of time. They are just not on the same page whatsoever, and I've said it earlier in this video, they are not an indie game. They are not an indie company. They are Behavior. They're a big company, and they need to set themselves to those standards. They need to step their shit up because it is unacceptable for players, period. It is not acceptable whatsoever for any of these things to continue to happen. We just need more transparency. Tell us what's going on. Fix the bugs. And these things are easier said than done. I get it. But it is incredibly frustrating as a player, especially as someone that is a creator. And this is something that has been told. We told them. We spoke about this and we were like, hey, is this going to be kill switch? Polly was the one that said it. And everybody acknowledged it. All of the other creators, not even a reply. It doesn't make sense to me. None of it makes sense to me. So I don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. I couldn't tell you. I really cannot tell you, but it is incredibly frustrating. Now, I've been gone for the past like 2 weeks for a lot of personal things that's been going on, and I'm honestly kind of happy because I didn't have to experience all of these things that everybody else is. In a selfish way, I'm happy that I didn't have to experience it. But man, oh man, has this stockpiled. If Behavior had any other competition out there, any other competition, that competition would 100% overtake them if they were putting themselves at a higher standard because the bar is so low right now, and that is just the truth. And that's pretty much all I have to say for you guys today. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, leave a like down below, comment your thoughts, your opinions, all that good stuff. As always, I'm the King. I tip my crown to you guys, and I'll see you guys in the very buggy fog.